Have you ever stopped to wonder if there are certain things you do that quietly push people away? Things no one has the heart to point out. As we grow older, we settle into routines. Some of these are comforting, even wise, but others can slowly become blind spots. You might believe you're simply being yourself, but those around you may see things differently. And while they may never say a word, these habits can subtly shift how you're perceived by friends, family, and even strangers. In this video, we're going to explore 12 subtle behaviors that many people notice in old age, but rarely mention. And when I say ugly, I'm not talking about looks. I'm talking about actions and patterns that over time can erode the grace and respect you've earned throughout your life. These are the kinds of behaviors that, without meaning to, can isolate you and chip away at the dignity you've spent decades building. Each one is an invitation not to judge yourself harshly, but to pause and reflect, to gently ask, is this really serving me? Or is it creating distance between me and the people I love? The good news, almost all of these behaviors can be changed. Awareness is the first step. By the time we finish, you'll have a clearer picture of how to carry yourself with more grace, presence, and confidence in this chapter of life. So stay with me. You may discover that just a few small shifts could deeply improve how others experience you and how you experience yourself. Let's begin. 1. Neglecting personal hygiene. One of the first things people quietly notice, but rarely mention, is a shift in personal hygiene. And it's not about extreme neglect. It's about the small things: wearing the same clothes several days in a row, unbrushed hair, overgrown fingernails, or a faint odor that lingers. These details may seem minor, but they speak loudly. Hygiene isn't only about being clean. It's a reflection of self-respect. In our younger years, we keep up with grooming almost automatically. But as energy fades or routines change, some begin to ask, what's the point? That shift may go unnoticed by you, but not by others. Most won't mention it. Younger family members especially may not know how to say it without hurting your feelings. Instead, they pull away gently. They sit farther, hug less, visit for shorter periods. But it's not you they're reacting to. It's the silent message your self-care is sending. It tells them, perhaps without you realizing it, that you've stopped valuing yourself in the same way. And here's the unspoken truth. When you stop caring for yourself, others unconsciously stop treating you with the same warmth and respect. Not out of cruelty, but because your energy shifts. You don't have to be dressed to impress every day. But clean clothes, tidy hair, and trimmed nails say something powerful. I'm still here. I still care. I still matter. People respond to your presence long before they respond to your words. And hygiene is often the clearest expression of that presence. When you take care of yourself, it quietly invites others to treat you with dignity, affection, and respect. And that's a message worth sending. 2. Speaking without a filter. As we get older, something strange often happens. The little voice that once whispered, "Maybe don't say that out loud," gets quieter. You might begin speaking your mind more freely, thinking, "I've earned the right to say what I feel." And in some ways you have. But the people around you might feel something different: discomfort. There's a line between honesty and bluntness, and over time, that line can blur. You might find yourself commenting on someone's appearance, relationship, or parenting choices. And when met with a pause or awkward glance, you laugh it off. "I'm just being honest." Or, "People are too sensitive these days." But the truth is, honesty without compassion just sounds like criticism. And even if no one tells you so, people start protecting themselves. They may pull back, invite you less, keep calls brief. They still love you, but they're guarding themselves from what feels like emotional bruises, even if unintentional. This doesn't mean you have to walk on eggshells, but it does mean asking, is this helpful is this kind, because often what feels like being truthful is really just frustration slipping through, and it lands more harshly than you think. Here's a good rule. If you wouldn't want someone saying it to your grandchild, maybe don't say it to someone else's. The true power of age isn't in speaking freely. It's in knowing when your words will build connection instead of breaking it. Wrap your wisdom in kindness, and people will listen more closely than ever before. 3. Wearing clothes that no longer fit. There's comfort in routine, eating the same breakfast, taking the same walk, wearing clothes that have been in your closet for decades. And while consistency is a beautiful thing, when it comes to clothing, it can also send an unintentional message. Clothes that hang too loose, cling too tight, or reflect a style from 25 years ago may feel fine to you, but they often tell others you've stopped paying attention. Shoes that have lost their shape, shirts that fade, or pants that don't fit right anymore quietly signal disconnect from the present moment. And no, this isn't about fashion, it's about presence. When someone sees an older adult dressed in clothes that fit well and feel cared for, they feel admiration, not because of trendiness, but because of dignity. It says, I still show up in the world, I still matter. Think about it. Would you wear the same suit to an interview that you wore in 1995? Probably not. Our bodies shift, our coloring changes, and our energy evolves. Dressing in a way that reflects who you are today, not who you were, shows emotional awareness and self-respect. Some might say, I don't care what people think, and that's fine. But there's a difference between being comfortable and being dismissive. You can be at ease while still looking after yourself. Even small updates, a new shirt that flatters your tone, or better-fitting pants, can change how people respond to you. Not because of the outfit itself, but because of what it communicates, that you're still paying attention, still engaged with life, still proud of who you are. And while people may not say a word, they notice. They smile more, they treat you with a little more reverence. Because like it or not, the way we present ourselves still matters, even in later years. 4. Interrupting or dominating conversations. As we get older, the desire to be heard becomes stronger. After all, you've lived through enough experiences to have earned your say. But sometimes, in trying to share what we've learned, we accidentally take up too much space in conversations. It starts innocently enough. Someone brings up a situation you've faced before. You chime in, offer advice, tell a story. Suddenly 10 minutes have passed, and no one else has spoken. This habit rarely comes from a bad place. It usually stems from a genuine desire to help. But when we fill every silence or offer unsolicited advice, we unintentionally shut down the voices around us. And people won't tell you. They'll just start stepping back. They'll call less, keep conversations short, or avoid deeper discussions altogether, especially with younger adults or grandchildren. This creates distance. They already may feel unsure about connecting with someone from another generation. And when they feel talked over, not listened to, that bridge weakens further. This doesn't mean you need to say less. It means listening more, leaving room for silence, asking questions, resisting the urge to immediately fix things. One of the most impactful things an elder can do is to hold back just enough for others to feel heard. Here's the irony. The less you dominate, the more people seek your input. The more you listen, the more your words carry weight. You go from being someone they brace for to someone they trust. So next time you're chatting, ask yourself, are you listening or just waiting for your turn to speak? That small shift could open the door to deeper, richer relationships. 5. Complaining about kids these days. It often starts with a small observation. A teen glued to their phone, someone in their 30s making a choice you wouldn't have made. And from there, it turns into a pattern. Back in my day, or they have no idea how the real world works. It may feel like simple commentary, maybe even humor, but to younger people, it often sounds like rejection. Every generation looks at the next and sees what's missing. That's not new, but when your default becomes constant criticism, it doesn't come across as wise. It comes across as bitter. Instead of feeling connected to you, younger people begin to feel judged, and they back away emotionally, even if they still show up physically. They keep the conversation light, they avoid opening up, and over time, a quiet emotional wall forms. That doesn't mean you have to embrace every trend or agree with everything young people do, but it does mean choosing curiosity over critique. Instead of saying, "These kids are soft," ask, "What's it like growing up in this world today?" Your role isn't to preserve the past, it's to help connect it to the present. And when you do that with openness, your voice becomes a bridge. You're no longer the person shouting from behind. You're the one reaching across generations. And here's the reward. When young people feel respected by you, they seek you out. They ask questions. They want to learn from you, not because they have to, but because they feel safe in your presence. That's real influence. And it begins with letting go of the need to be right about how it used to be, and leaning into who you still are today. 6. Ignoring modern etiquette. Social norms change. What was once acceptable in public, speaking loudly on the phone, playing music without headphones, standing too close, now often draws quiet frustration from others. You might not even notice you're doing it. No one will stop you and say, "Hey, that's a bit much." Instead, they'll glance your way, shift uncomfortably, or quietly move to another seat. They won't say anything, but they feel it, and over time, so do you, through the distance that builds. In the past, people might have been more forgiving. Today, expectations are different. Courtesy in shared spaces matters more than ever, and older adults, rightly or wrongly, are often expected to model that behavior. If someone sees you disregarding those unspoken rules, they're less likely to think they didn't know. They're more likely to assume they don't care. But here's the good news. This is one of the easiest things to fix. Start paying attention to the small cues. Notice how people manage their volume, how they navigate lines, how they use their phones in public. You don't have to be perfect, just aware. Modern etiquette isn't about being an update. It's about showing others you're still present, still considerate, still tuned in to the world around you. And when people sense that awareness, their respect for you deepens. Not just strangers, but your family, your grandkids, your neighbors. Quiet admiration grows, because in a noisy world, someone who moves with grace and mindfulness stands out in the best way. 7. Oversharing medical problems. There's a familiar joke. Add a few older folks together, and pretty soon the conversation turns into a friendly competition about aches, surgeries, or who's on the most medications. And while it may feel like harmless talk, even a way to connect, constantly bringing up your health issues can slowly drain the energy from those around you. Here's the truth. Everyone knows aging comes with physical challenges. You don't need to pretend everything's fine. But when every conversation circles back to what hurts or what the doctor said, people begin to feel more like they're in a waiting room than a relationship. Younger family members, in particular, may feel overwhelmed. They care deeply, but they also feel helpless, uncertain of what to say or how to respond. And so they start pulling away, not because they don't love you, but because it's emotionally exhausting. You deserve empathy. You deserve to be heard. But if health struggles become the main way you relate to others, the connection begins to shift from friendship or family to something that feels more like caretaking. Think about the people you most enjoyed being around. Chances are, They don't spend every moment listing symptoms or medication schedules. They might mention a challenge, but they also talk about what's good. The book they're reading, a flower they noticed blooming, or a funny story from the neighborhood. That doesn't mean you should hide your reality. It means choosing balance. Yes, share how you're feeling, but also ask others how they're doing. Talk about anything that reminds people you're still fully alive, not just a list of diagnoses. Because when you lead with vitality, when you focus on what's still bright in your world, you uplift not just yourself, but everyone around you. 8. Being stubborn about outdated beliefs. It's natural to hold on to values that have guided you through life. These beliefs helped you raise your family, run your home, and navigate decades of change. But there's a fine line between wisdom and stubbornness, and it's not always easy to see when we've crossed it. You might catch yourself saying, "That's just how it is," or "People today are too sensitive," or maybe you reject new ideas by saying, "I don't care what they say, I know better." While those statements might feel solid and certain to you, they often sound like resistance to everyone else. The world has changed, and it's still changing. Technology, gender roles, mental health, communication, all of it is evolving fast. And when we refuse to even consider a different perspective, it doesn't come across as strength. It comes across as being closed off. Younger people may not challenge you directly. Instead, they quietly stop talking to you about certain topics. They stop asking for your thoughts. They distance themselves emotionally, not because they don't care, but because they assume you won't listen. But here's the good news. Staying open doesn't mean abandoning your values. It means making space for growth. It means being willing to listen and say, "I hadn't thought of it that way," or "Help me understand why this matters to you." Often, the resistance to new ideas hides a deeper fear. The fear of losing touch, of becoming irrelevant, of not knowing how to navigate the world anymore. But relevance doesn't come from holding tighter to the past. It comes from leaning into the present with courage. When you show that you're still learning, still willing to ask questions, people admire you. Not because you know everything, but because you're humble enough to keep evolving. That's what it means to be truly wise. 9. Walking or moving without awareness of space. As we get older, our bodies slow down. That's natural. But with that slower pace, something else can happen quietly. We become less aware of how our movements affect the people around us. You've probably seen it, maybe even done it, standing in the middle of a grocery aisle with your cart turned sideways, blocking the way. Or stopping suddenly in a busy hallway without realizing someone was right behind you. These moments don't come from bad intentions. You're just focused on your task. But to others, especially in crowded or fast-moving spaces, it feels like a disruption, and they may not say anything. They'll just sigh, maneuver around you, and mentally take note. Over time, those small moments add up in people's minds. They may see you as someone who makes things more difficult than they need to be. And though they won't confront you, they might start avoiding activities that involve being in public spaces together. The issue isn't your pace, it's your awareness. You can walk slowly and still be mindful of the space around you. You can take your time and still keep to one side. You can read the menu, browse the shelf, or talk to a friend without creating a roadblock for others. This is especially important in places like stores, airports, sidewalks, and church foyers. These are shared spaces, and when you move with care, you send a subtle but powerful message. I still see others. I'm still tuned in. I'm still thoughtful. That kind of awareness may go unnoticed in words, but it's felt. It's respected. And is part of what allows you to keep showing up in the world with quiet dignity. 10. Making jokes that don't age well. A sense of humor is one of the greatest gifts to carry with you through life. It lightens the mood, eases tension, and keeps your spirit young. But as times change, not all jokes age gracefully, and some that once drew laughs can now quietly drive people away. You might be joking the way you always have, some sarcasm here, a little teasing there, maybe a comment based on old stereotypes or someone's appearance. You laugh, they laugh politely, and you think, come on, I'm just joking. But here's what's changed: the world around you. People, especially younger generations, are much more aware of how humor can hurt. They've grown up in a culture that values empathy, diversity, and emotional intelligence. So when a joke feels out of step with those values, it doesn't land the way it used to. It can make people feel uncomfortable, even if they never say a word. They'll smile and nod, but they'll also stop getting close. They'll avoid deeper interactions, and you might feel a distance growing without knowing why. This doesn't mean you need to walk on eggshells or avoid humor altogether. In fact, humor done well can build bridges faster than anything else. But it does mean asking yourself a simple question before you speak. Is this joke clever, or is it at someone else's expense? The best kind of humor in later life isn't the kind that shocks or offends. It's the kind that brings people together, that laughs with, not at. And often the most endearing humor comes from being able to laugh at yourself. That kind of humor shows wisdom, humility, and warmth. And when people sense that, they relax, they let you in. They stop seeing you as the older one in the room and start seeing you as someone who still understands the moment they're living in. 11. Acting helpless when you're not. There's no question that aging brings real challenges. Tasks that were once automatic may now take more time, more thought, or some assistance. But there's a fine line between asking for help when you need it and defaulting to helplessness out of habit, and people notice. Maybe you found yourself saying things like, I don't know how to work that, or can you just do it for me? And in the beginning, it might seem easier to let others take over. But over time, when you consistently ask for help with things you're still capable of doing, it starts to wear on the people around you. Your children, your spouse, your friends. They start feeling more like caregivers than companions. They won't say anything. But inside, a little resentment may grow. Often, this behavior doesn't come from laziness. It comes from fear. Fear of messing up. Fear of looking silly. Fear of not being able to keep up. So you stay on the sidelines. You hand off small tasks, and bit by bit, your confidence erodes. But here's what people admire more than perfection: effort. They don't need you to get everything right. They just want to see you try. When you challenge yourself to stay engaged, to figure something out, to move your own body, carry your own bag, or follow instructions, you don't just maintain independence. You inspire it in others. It tells them, I'm still in the game. I may need support sometimes, but I'm not giving up. And when you only ask for help when it's truly necessary, people feel honored to support you because they know it comes from honesty, not habit. And that's when connection deepens. 12. Pretending you're always right. By the time you've reached a certain age, you've earned your knowledge. You've lived, made mistakes, and learned hard lessons. So it's natural to feel confident in your opinions. But when that confidence becomes a need to always be right, people begin to pull away. It can show up in small ways: correcting someone's story, insisting your way is the only way, or brushing off someone's idea with a simple, "Trust me, I know." And while it may seem harmless to you, over time it becomes emotionally exhausting for others. Instead of sharing openly, people start censoring themselves around you. They avoid debates. They nod along, not because they agree, but because it's easier. Most people who fall into this habit aren't trying to be arrogant. Often, it's a way to feel secure, to hang on to a sense of authority in a fast-changing world. But the truth is, Real authority doesn't come from being right. It comes from being wise enough to listen. Wisdom is knowing when to speak and when to step back, when to offer guidance, and when to let others explore their own thoughts. People admire those who can say, "That's interesting, tell me more," even when it challenges their beliefs. And ironically, when you stop needing to win every argument, your words start to carry more weight. People seek you out not for correction, but for your presence, your calm, and your thoughtfulness. In the end, being right isn't what makes people remember you. It's how you made them feel heard, respected, and encouraged to grow. Final thoughts. Now that we've walked through these 12 subtle but powerful behaviors, take a moment to reflect, not with shame, but with honesty. Which of these habits have gently crept into your life? Which ones surprised you? And which are you ready to shift, even just a little? This video isn't meant to criticize. It's meant to offer something rare. Honest feedback that comes from care, not judgment. These patterns don't make you a bad person. They're simply blind spots, things that slowly settle in as life evolves. But once you see them, you gain something invaluable, the ability to change them. And that's what aging gracefully truly means. Not clinging to the past or resisting change, but meeting each new day with presence, awareness, and the quiet strength to evolve. So as you move forward, hold these ideas close, not as a checklist, but as gentle reminders. Because small changes in how you speak, move, dress, listen, or connect can transform the way others experience you and the way you experience yourself. Thank you for being here today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below sharing one thing that resonated with you and how you might use it in your own life. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us keep creating thoughtful content to inform and inspire. We appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.